and welcome to Mums at the Table. Real women having real conversations about real issues. I'm Rachel, and joining me today in the lineup of wild and wonderful women, we've got Shona.
Wild?
We're mums of wild children, come on. We've got Melody and Fiona. How are you, ladies?
Hi, how are you? And welcome back. You've been overseas.
I have been overseas. It's
good to have you back.
I'm excited to be back to be chatting to you girls. I've been looking forward to this. Well, today we are sitting down to chat with Mum and Australian Senator Kristina Keneally about her personal journey with stillbirth. Now, this is a topic that's not often spoken about, and we want to be shedding some light on it today. We're also going to be talking about what marriage is like after kids. Are there ways to get through this stage more easily? I hope so. We've got Gia and Olive in the kitchen. They're creating a carrot cake oatmeal smoothie. We will find out what that is, so stay tuned. And Alicia is going to take us through the all-important exercises of your pelvic floor. But before we get into all of that, today we are talking about something addictive for kids. And as a parent, it can be very overwhelming. You can often feel like you're drowning. And I'm talking about the addiction to toys. I feel like I'm drowning in kids' toys. How many do you have at your house? Well, ABC Online says that 2.5 million Aussies spend an average of $80 per month on toys. When I read that, I thought that was a lot. Did you?
No!
Really?
Some Lego kits that you buy, and I haven't done this.
But monthly.
But some of them are $80 on their own.
But it's funny because when I read the article, I'm like, $80 a month? Who spends that?
That's what I thought too. And then
But you've got a 2-year-old. Wait until they get to about 5, 6, 7 and they walk past and they see the Lego and, you know, all these
I know,
big
per
things.
Month?
Oh,
am I
easily.
the Scroogey parent that says, well, you have to save up for that?
I just go on free cycle.
Yeah.
Free cycle, good idea.
I know with my children, 98% of their gifts are gifted, so they're from other people. They're gifts. I'm not big on buying them toys.
Yeah.
I've got different standards when it comes to my nieces and nephews because I have no problem spending gifts for them, but when it comes to my own, I definitely hold back. I'm all about creating experiences. So for this year, for one of our daughter's birthdays, we took them to the circus for the first time.
Nice.
So I think rather than spending that money and making it about presents, like special occasions for their birthdays, presents with the TS, it's more about presents with the CE. So that it's all about...
Hold on, presents with a CE?
Presents, like people's presents. Having your family members around and creating memories that they can cherish
As they
forever.
get older, though, do you think that's going to hold?
Look, they're young, four at the moment, but I'm hoping to instill those values to be thankful, appreciative, because people don't need to give you anything, and I don't need to buy you anything. So I'm trying to instill values in my girls that say, hey, look, you've got a gift, you're blessed. Be thankful, appreciative and grateful.
So I brought this topic up with my daughter this week, my 9-year-old, and I said, you know, because this is something I've actually been working towards. So, you know, next year when we have your party, what if we just do this? You know, I told her what I thought we should do, and no gifts. And, like, that was blasphemy. Her face was shocked, like, Mum, like, they sort of think of that when they have a party, that gifts are a huge part of that.
And you see that all the time. I see that with a lot of kids. They think that having a birthday party is about presents, you know, and I think we need to start changing the way our children are thinking and raise kids who are appreciative of family members.
So quite often we talk about monkey see, monkey do here.
Yeah.
How many of us, and I'm really bad at this, would rather have an experience than a present?
Well,
me.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. That's exactly why.
Gift giving is your love language,
It is
right?
my love language.
So it's really, it's still a really important thing to do because when you give a gift, you're investing in someone.
Yeah.
But
it shows me that you know me.
Yes.
But does a gift have to be a material thing? Because, you know, if someone really enjoys, I don't know, trapezing, that could just be a gift, you know, to be able to go trapezing.
Well, we're going to move on, ladies. Sorry. Take it online. We'd love to hear what you have to say. From an addiction of toys to a much better addiction. I'm talking about Gia and Olive in the kitchen. They're making a carrot cake oatmeal smoothie. Have a look.
So, if you like carrot cake, how about having it for breakfast? Well, we are going to show you how to make a carrot cake smoothie. The reason why I say it's a breakfast smoothie is because I don't know if your kids like carrot cake, but you can sort of make it fun for them. So let's try it and see, maybe you can try it and tell us what you think, okay? So put the LSA in first. So it's 2 tablespoons of LSA. Okay, can you put that in there?
LSA.
LSA. Say 2 tablespoons.
2 tablespoons.
Of LSA, that's right. We're going to use 1 chopped carrot.
1 chopped carrot.
Go on. Recently, they are finding out that carrots are actually good for your eyesight. So, if you want to help your eyesight, children's eyesight, give them lots of carrot. 3/4 of a cup of non-dairy milk. We're using soy milk. or you can use almond milk, whatever milk you like. What else have we got here? Oh, oats, half a cup of oats. Definitely get some oats in the morning. Half a cup of oats. We've got 1 or 2 tablespoons of maple syrup, whatever you like. If you don't want extra sweetener, maybe just 1 tablespoon, even half a tablespoon. 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. If you can get allspice, I'm gonna have it on the recipe for you. So 1 tablespoon of coconut, just coconut, shredded coconut, and this is the key ingredient. So in here, I've got cream cheese, but it's not real cream cheese. It's called Better Than Cream Cheese. You can get it in the vegetarian section at your supermarket. You could use cream cheese. I just prefer not to. So we'll put that in. Oh, 2 tablespoons? Let's see how this goes, hey? And I will add extra milk if I want it a bit more runny, but we'll see how it goes. Now turn on the switch, go. Okay, I've just blended it for a little bit just until it was a bit smooth. This has to be the best breakfast smoothie. The bit of sweetness and the creaminess. I would actually even put it in the fridge for a little while before having it for breakfast. Oh, look at that. It's seriously like an oatmeal for breakfast, but like in a smoothie consistency.
That's what I call a bunch.
That'll keep you full till lunch. Please don't eat anything else if you've had that for breakfast. I think she's used to smoothies like that for breakfast. I'll eat it. Enjoy.
I love the honesty of kids. Well, if you want more healthy recipes that you can make at home, we're actually giving away a free cookbook. It's called Health and Happiness. All you need to do is email your name, your postal address and the title Health and Happiness to us at hello@mumsathetable.com and we can send you out your free cookbook. That's hello@mumsathetable.com. Well, having a family is a beautiful thing, but with your first and consequent babies comes a whole lot of change. Well, today we want to get real about what a relationship is like after kids. Now, in the latest Mums at the Table magazine, child psychologist and family therapist Karen Holford writes about 4 ways that you can grow your relationship for the better in the busyness and the chaos of having kids. Fiona, what was the biggest change for you going from 2 to 3 and bringing kids into that mix?
Well, we actually went from 2 to 4 because my first were twins.
Got that right.
Got the twins. I know. Can I claim jet lag?
But I think the biggest change for us was career-wise, because I was all about my career and so was he. So I think we struggled with that a lot. And those teething stages of who's going to stay home, we hadn't had that discussion. We didn't even plan on having children. So I think when I think about it now, maybe we should have talked more about, you know, family planning and having children. So when that came upon us, we did struggle. We did.
What about your time together, though? Like your time together, because that's encroached
What time together?
Well,
well, that's what I mean.
I had been with my partner for 12 years prior to walking down the aisle.
So you'd had plenty of time. You're done with that.
Time to know each other. We partied out. We travelled out. We had lived our life. So when we had children, I think we were focused on them. And to be honest, they didn't ask to be in my backyard. But God, by the grace of God, they are with me. So I see it as a positive. Any challenge I have, and they're only young for little, you know. So I'm just lapping up the love, lapping up the hugs, and just being a smothering, overprotective mother.
I liked one of the comments she made in there, and this is something that Gary's always done for me, was she said about how to write notes to your partner. And he's always done that.
Oh, wow.
He's a motor mechanic, so when he services my car, on the little sticker he goes, in another 10,000 kilometres, I will still love you. Please get me serviced.
Shona, you know what's so funny? Your husband actually used to service my car.
Oh, that's right.
He didn't leave any notes for me, though.
No, I'm pleased about that.
It's actually interesting because, like, when we first had our child, right, one of the problems that Daniel and I had a lot was, I think it was just the lack of communication, because you're so involved in your own little world, trying to raise this baby, that you fail to ask for help. And so then it's hard. And then you think that he's not helping. But
and you tend to sort of do everything around him.
But that's the
You're
thing.
so engrossed in the baby.
It's his way, your way, and you create over time our way.
Yeah, but his way really frustrates me.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, I know for us, I think it was about 2 independent people becoming dependent on each other. And I needed that because in our lifestyle, our travel and career, we were just 2 people married, but really doing our own thing. So I think having kids actually brought us more together in some ways.
For us it was a huge difference. It was massive because I thought it would bring us closer together, but because we operate so differently and we're such opposite people that when we're under pressure, we just sort of went in different directions. And it wasn't like, yes, we had a baby, we had sleepless nights for a few months. So
what did you do to overcome that?
Yeah, it's been a long-term thing because I didn't sleep through the night, and so we were trying to have this relationship on a sleepless life for at least 6 years. So that's not a short-term thing, that's a long-term thing. And we've always tried to communicate, even though we don't see eye to eye on everything, but he calls it his marital stubbornness. Like, we're in this for the long haul. We can always remember. That's the one thing. It's always easy for us to remember why we love each other and why we fell in love in the first place. But we've actually struggled with the communication and the working together during this whole process. And so it has not been smooth sailing for us.
It's really important you do, because now we're at the other echelon.
You've got the hindsight of it.
Yeah, and we've got the kids leaving home where it's now
just
the two of us.
Yep.
And once the boys were old enough to be able to stay on their own, so around about 15, 16, we started going out again, and we started making our friends, not friends who had kids the same age as us, but friends of our own, so that now we actually have a life without the kids.
Do you think for some people, they get, after having the children and they've left the nest, they look at each other and they wonder, who am I?
I could see that
who are
happening.
you? So I guess that's a good thing that you date. And,
well, not even, we don't call it date because that's a bit old-fashioned.
Oh, sorry.
Just,
my bad.
Well, look, I was going to say, in our magazine, there is actually some great tips from Karen that she's put in there, even some websites that you can look at, even some online counselling. So if you would like a free subscription to our monthly magazine, all you need to do is email us at hello@mumsathetable.com. Well, we're taking you over to Alicia now. She's got some very important exercises for you with your pelvic floor.
It's Alicia, the Table's resident personal trainer, back with you. Ladies, we're going to talk about a really important topic today, particularly when it comes to once we've had kids and pregnancy and all those fun things that I'm experiencing right now, and that is engaging our pelvic floor.
Need those bad boys.
Okay. Now, I'll admit, so I haven't gone through the birthing process yet, so I know that is going to become more important once that happens. But even so, like I have friends, and you know, even before I've been pregnant, where I've had issues and my friends have had issues that haven't had kids with pelvic floor, like jumping on a trampoline and going, I think I just weed myself, you know. So, like, it's something that I think is important whether or not we've had kids. So I just want to give you some really basics. Now, first of all, I'm not a physio, and what I recommend to anyone that I interact with, any women, is to go and see a specialist. So see a women's health physio, because they are going to give you the real specifics to help you get those pelvic floor muscles really working and figuring out where you're at in terms of your strength of them. But aside from that, there are some basic exercises and breathing things that you can do. Now, what I love is this good old stability ball. These are really great because, first of all, they help get all your stabilizing muscles working, because it's throwing you off balance constantly, so it's making your body have to keep you stable. But when it comes to pelvic floor, what's really good about them is you kind of get to spread your butt onto that ball and you can just sit there, and it's a really comfortable way to be focusing on getting that pelvic floor muscle engagement happening. So what I recommend doing is, just as one exercise you can do, is first of all focusing on your breathing. So if you put one hand on your belly and then one on your ribs, and then you focus on the breath in, the inhale. And then as you exhale, feeling the belly going back out again. And as you inhale again this time, I want you to start connecting with those pelvic floor muscles and relaxing them on the inhale, okay? Relaxing them on the inhale. And then on the exhale, I want you to imagine
I'm failing.
Lifting. Isn't it hard? I mean, it's the one exercise we can't demonstrate, but it's the hardest one to actually get to work, right? Because it's kind of these inner muscles, right? Now, you've probably heard the cue that the way you want to engage those pelvic floor muscles is to imagine yourself stopping weeing, okay? Another one I've heard that's a little less appropriate maybe is imagine picking up a blueberry off the ball and holding it there.
Get that out of your thoughts now.
Right? But the main idea is that you're wanting to contract those pelvic floor muscles and lift them, okay? Because they are like a sling or a hammock underneath your pubic bone and then your tailbone, and they cross over like this, and so they kind of hang, and what you want to do is lift them, right? And that's how we can get them to engage. So again, on the inhale, you relax them. On the exhale, you tighten and lift them, okay? And then if you just do that for a couple minutes a day, and particularly if you've got a stability ball, that's going to be a good practice, a good way to get them more engaged, all right? Now, another part of this is that you want to make sure that you are again seeing that specialist, because that alone, if you do have really weak pelvic floor, is probably not going to be enough. And so you do want to see someone that can give you some professional advice. But whether you're pregnant, had kids, haven't had kids, I really recommend just doing some breathing core pelvic floor work right here like this. And that way you can be getting it strong no matter where you are in your journey. All right, thank you for joining us for that.
Well, according to the 2016 Australian Institute of Health and Welfare report, one child dies from stillbirth in Australia every 4 hours. Now, it's a topic that's not often spoke of, and there appears to be little, if any, government funding into improving the current situation. Well, today we're sitting down to chat to Mum, a former New South Wales Premier and current Australian Senator, the Honourable Kristina Keneally. Kristina, thank you so much for coming in to sit down and chat to us.
Thank you.
We wanted to sort of talk to you about your stillbirth journey. Is it something that you thought would happen to you?
Absolutely not. I went through my entire first pregnancy with my first baby, Daniel. Healthy, easy. I thought, I've got this. I know how to do this. I can have kids. And then my second pregnancy did not go that well at all. In fact, my daughter Caroline was stillborn. And I felt so naive and I felt so angry, but particularly naive. I thought, why did nobody tell me this could happen? Why didn't I know about this? How is it possible that in a first world country and a fairly well-educated person, I had no idea how common this is?
Were there signs? Were there signs in you personally or physically that you were experiencing to say maybe something's going on that I should probably...
Well, in hindsight, yes. In hindsight, yes. Now, in my daughter's circumstance, I don't think any intervention would have saved her life, sadly. But for many cases of stillbirth, there are things that can be done, interventions that can be made. The real tragedy is there are things that we know that we are not telling parents in pregnancy to look out for, and we're not doing a very good job at investigating stillbirths when they happen so that we know how to prevent them in the future.
So why aren't we doing all of that, telling the parents what they can do?
I think partly because stillbirth for so long has been viewed as a private tragedy, something that happens to a woman, it's inside her body, it's not been viewed as a public health problem, but rather as a private tragedy. I also think it is so terribly sad for people to contemplate that they don't want to enter into that discussion, grief and that discussion.
Or even to have to think about that happening to them.
You know, we've had, now in the Senate, we're having an inquiry into stillbirth research and prevention. And one of the mothers who was the mother of a stillborn baby came to us and said, you know, she asked her doctor later, why didn't you tell me about this? He said, well, we don't want to scare mothers. And she made this really great analogy. She said, you know, when you get on an airplane, they tell you the worst thing that could happen. And they tell you how to manage it. She says, now the risk of an airplane crashing is so much less than the risk of a stillbirth. She says, nobody runs from the plane. People continue the plane journey. She said, I would rather have been told so that I could prepare and I could look out for those risks.
I'm just curious a little bit from you personally, right? You know the amount of mom guilt that we all have about anything that happens to our kid, we think it's our fault. How did you deal with the whole thing?
Oh, look, it was incredibly hard, that sense of guilt, because this is your own body. You feel like you have let your own child down in the most, you know, tragic way possible. You know, in my circumstance, and for so many parents, it's not necessarily something you could have done to prevent it. But part of the problem is so many parents come out of stillbirth and they don't have an answer because we don't investigate it. They don't know still why it happened. But what I do know, for me and so many parents who've gone through this, there is that sense of guilt. And one of the ways we can help people deal with it is, one, to prevent them from having to go through it at all, and two, helping them understand when it happens.
So is there a support network for parents who have stillborn or miscarriages?
There are SANS, which is a group that helps parents after the death of a baby or a stillbirth. They do great work. They were very helpful for me 20 years ago, and they're still doing this very valuable work. The Stillbirth Foundation, whilst they're not a support group, they do allow parents to do some things, raise money, help promote public health messages and get involved. And I suppose this is the thing, most of the money that's been raised for stillbirth research has come from parents of stillborn babies.
Done that. So how did you, in your sort of own personal journey, put one foot in front of the other and continue on?
Yeah, I was very depressed, not surprisingly, for a very long time. But I had a 13-month-old baby, a son who wasn't even old enough to know that he had a sister, and he needed his mother to get up every day. And there were some days it was very hard to get out of bed. I was very angry at God for a very long time.
I was going to ask you about your faith and how that sort of wore through that journey.
Yeah, I was incredibly angry with God. And, at one hand, I felt a great sense of comfort that my daughter was with God. I believe that as a Christian, and that was quite comforting. But on the other hand, shouldn't a baby be with her mother? Why is my baby not with me? And I didn't necessarily think God was going to intervene to give me a healthy pregnancy. I didn't think that that was something that God should have done, particularly. I suppose, though, if I think about it, there was a point at which I came to a realization that God is neither mother nor father. It can be both. God can be both. God is neither male nor female. We often think of God as a father, but God is also a mother. And God is a mother whose child died. God's child, Jesus, died. And it didn't make everything better for me, but it gave me an understanding that, bad things happen in the world, tragedy happens, and God, as a mother, must love the world and love me so much that she allowed her own child to die for humanity. And that just gave me a sense that God walks with my pain and understands and loves. And no, God doesn't intervene to make everything perfect, but God is there for us when things go wrong.
So how did you and your husband sort of work through this together? Like, were you a support for each other? Did you sort of have to look outside of that outside of your marriage for support?
I had a great social worker through the public health care system. I had our local parish priest who was really magnificent in terms of doing a blessing for Caroline when she died. We had a good family friend who was a priest who did her funeral. Stillbirth affects mothers and fathers differently.
I was going to say, and how was your partner and your husband in...
Well, I think he had the sense that many fathers do, that they have to look after the family. Somebody had to go to work. I was certainly not capable of doing those things. And he had to be strong for me and for our son. But also, I was the one who had felt my daughter moving inside of me. I had an intimate relationships that dads sometimes will struggle to have with any pregnancy until a baby is born. And that made it very... meant our grief was experienced differently.
You mentioned your son earlier, and it's a topic that we've discussed here, and it's sort of a hard one. How do you explain something like that to your son?
Well, as I said, he was too young at the time to understand. I suppose what we've done is to always talk about Caroline. We've never we just talked about her. We visit her grave on her birthday or on important holidays. And
you've had a child since Caroline?
Yes, so I've had another son, Brendan. Right. And so the boys know that she is part of the family whenever we have a family marriage or funeral. She's part of the prayers and acknowledged. You know, it's just, she is my second child.
Yes.
I speak about her in those terms, and she's just not with us.
What was your pregnancy with Brendan like? I can imagine it would have been filled with fear and trepidation.
Well, this is a really good point, Melody, that so many parents and their subsequent pregnancies just have this real fear. For me, there was the relief to find out he didn't have the same condition that she had, but then there's still the fear of course, am I going to get through this? And that real relief. I remember bringing him home thinking, I have waited so long to have another baby at home, to have 2 babies at home, and it just was, you know, such an incredibly sad journey. It was a bittersweet moment to bring him home.
Yeah, I can imagine.
You mentioned earlier that the Senate's looking into this. What sort of are they focusing on?
Well, we're looking at 2 things. What are the ways that we can reduce stillbirth in Australia through healthcare, research,
because the stats are still pretty high for a Western developed country.
Australia does not do well on this. Other nations in the last decade, the Netherlands, the UK, New Zealand, they have all taken clear steps to prioritise stillbirth reduction, and it's not that complicated. It's better healthcare. It's talking to parents about the fact that it can happen, talking with, you know, getting clinicians to talk to parents about what are the risks and things they should be monitoring, and then understanding who it happens to and why. You know, when we start to investigate stillbirth overseas, we start to realize in certain, you know, certain ethnic groups, perhaps letting people go beyond 39 weeks presents a higher risk than it does for other groups.
Right.
And so it's about understanding that. I would say for people watching at home, a few things that we're not particularly telling parents right now. 1, get to know your baby's movements. And if those movements change significantly, get to your doctor or to a hospital, because that can often be a warning sign that something's going wrong in the pregnancy. Secondly, we do know that sleeping on your side in pregnancy, while it will not completely prevent a stillbirth, it does help reduce the risk.
Yeah.
Does it? On the side?
Really?
Yeah.
I was drilled. I was drilled by my obstetrician to sleep on my side, because sometimes you're comfortable on your back. And
the back is...
they were like, look, whatever you do, whether it's a left or right, just sleep on your side.
That's right.
Wow.
Okay. Look, just quickly, because I know you've been able to go through this journey over some time. If someone was at the beginning of this journey that you've been through, what would you say to them?
Well, I'd say don't be afraid to find out what can happen in a pregnancy. If you are pregnant, and you know, to be informed with information is your best chance of delivering a healthy baby. If you have just had a stillbirth, you know, every family is different, and every family is going to experience this grief differently. But for those families, perhaps the most comforting thing to do is to acknowledge that this baby is part of your family. Yeah. Speak of them, celebrate the milestones of whether it's a subsequent child, and to mark that your stillborn child's birth.
I think that's really lovely advice. And look, if this has affected our conversation has affected you today, please contact Beyond Blue or Lifeline. There is someone there that is happy to talk to you. Kristina, thank you so much for sitting down and chatting with us today. We really appreciate that and going through all of that with us.
Thank you.
And ladies, it is always a pleasure having you on board. Good to chat. Don't forget, if you want to jump onto our social media and have your say, we'll see you next week.